that looks good. My channel. Dun, dun, dun. All right, that looks good.
Yeah, so I had a really good idea, buddy.
What's that,
You know
man?
how they have like reality shows? I wanted to do a YouTube show where we purposely brought people with different opinions, and then we had a mediator, like a northern Yankee with a sarcastic attitude, nice dry sarcasm, and
Right,
would like get into a debate, but they would look. He would be the one that would give the answer. Like they would ask questions about things they disagree on, but the whole point of the show is it's going to be somebody that's going to have dry humor, and just so it's like a mediator. So you can't call the person that you're debating against the Nazi if there's a mediator and he's the one giving the sarcastic answers. But just to let people see how humor can help break the ice on difficult topics.
right.
What do you think about something like that?
Yeah, that sounds good to me.
Just because we need to see point of views. And
Right.
I'm not, I understand the progressive ideology of, people being nice to each other. But when you create a safe space because you didn't like someone's answer, then we've gone way too far as a society.
No, I agree with that 100%. All right,
Just
well,
because we need to see point of views.
yeah.
And I'm not, I understand the progressive ideology of, people being nice to each other. But when you create a safe space because you didn't like someone's answer, then we've gone way too far as a society.
All right, let's see, make sure. Cool. All right, so for everybody just joining, sorry about that. I had to end the stream last time. Ran into some technical issues with the phone call. So we've now stepped over to Skype. Um, I forget exactly where we're at, but tonight's discussion, we're just talking about censorship, freedom of speech, and the First Amendment, and how shit's changed so much. I'd say within hell, what, the last decade? It's kind of gone to shit. I mean, we weren't experiencing these things 10 years ago as bad. I mean, would you agree?
All right. So, what question are we at, sir?
Well, right now we don't have a question. Thomas was asking, what happened to the live video when it stopped, and I was just explaining that we ran into some technical difficulties and we were starting over. But right now we've got Thomas, Chris, Anthony, Karen, Larry, Rick, Scott, Buster, and Elizabeth have joined. Scotty, y'all, welcome. Like I said, the topic of discussion tonight's censorship, First Amendment, freedom of speech. Anybody's got any questions, anything they'd like to add to the conversation, feel free, and we'll get to y'all in the order that they appear. Tonight's special guest is, you want to tell them your name there, bud?
My name's Josh, but they call me Callie.
Josh, call him Callie. All right, well, it's good to have you on tonight, Josh. Now, you're in North Carolina, right?
Yes, sir. Charlotte,
Uh,
Queen City.
Queen City, hell yeah. Now, if I'm not mistaken, Charlotte's pretty much leaning pretty heavy Democratic these days. Am I correct in that assumption?
Yes, you are. I'm on my way to a place called Elizabeth Billiards to go play some pool, and I like it because free pool. But I've been, heard some conversations that people were talking about, and it's very anti Donald Trump. It's actually kind of funny.
I bet so. Yes, Chris. Chris George is, has said, censorship has only been placed on certain people. We were kind of talking about that before the stream had to be shut down due to technical issues, which it seems like right now everything's been resolved. So I think it must have been something to do with the phone, which is why we switched to Skype. So, Josh, thanks for downloading that app. It's definitely made it a lot easier.
Yes, sir.
Uh, and yeah, liberals do appear to be able to say whatever the hell they want with any kind of repercussion. And Scotty, I know smoking's bad for me, and I'll deal with it. That's what makes America great. I can smoke it if
Freedom
I
of
got them.
choice.
Freedom of choice.
All right. So when I went to school for nursing, I had to take a law class, and the way my teacher explained the way the amendments work and everything is, so a guy walking down the street spinning a cane in his hand, right? He has all the right to do that in the world, and his rights end when that cane contacts someone else. Unfortunately, we've gotten to the point in society where people's opinions are now considered a weapon. And that's where the censorship comes in. And it's a slippery slope. Once you start allowing censorship of people and making it justified, how easy is it for basically to censor anything now? With that same justification, you could apply it to anything. Speech has become violence, which, back in the day, the top alpha caveman might have to fight another alpha caveman for the right to have the woman. Now, if I say, I don't like quinoa or I could never eat vegetarian, people actually cry and need a safe space for stuff like that. And it's kind of ridiculous.
No, it's extremely ridiculous.
Yeah.
It is. The whole concept of safe spaces is just blows my mind. I mean,
Well,
I know it's been a while since I've been to, been out of school and whatnot, especially university, and that shit just didn't exist when I went. Of course, I'm 45 years old, but I have to think, it's the indoctrination, of these college kids by these damn extreme liberal professors, these Marxists, communists, that are pushing these agendas on these kids with, such damn open minds and shit. And they don't even know any better.
Hey, sir, my buddy here had a very good point. I'll have him tell it to you.
Yeah, go ahead. And who's your buddy?
I was just talking out loud, but what I was saying was, I mean, the problem when you start censoring speech, it's kind of a double-edged sword. Number one, the arena of ideas is important. It's a battle of ideas. The best ideas come out on top. Two, when you start censoring ideas, when you start suppressing ideas, they start to grow in the dark. Sunlight's the best disinfectant. Bad ideas fester in the dark. That's why you're seeing such a rapid growth of actual white supremacy and all this fucking crazy leftist nonsense got to grow for so long and now it's mainstream. It's just the pendulum swinging, man. You can't, once you start suppressing ideas, you're playing a dangerous game. You're playing a dangerous game when you disenfranchise and deplatform large swaths of people. It's a bad, it does, there's no happy ending to the whole thing. And that's basically all I was saying out loud.
Yeah.
No,
And not to
I agree with you 100%. I mean, that's what, kind of scared me so much, regarding Alex Jones. I mean, they have literally, shut him down. If it wasn't for the fact that he has his own, website and, is able, and his hosting provider, hadn't tried to fuck him yet. I mean, he'd be off 100%. You know, we wouldn't be able to hear nothing about him. Now, I'll be
Well,
the first to admit, some of the shit, Alex Jones talks about is fucking crazy shit. I mean, I just spent yesterday listening to the damn Joe Rogan podcast where, he had him back on for 4 hours, and the shit that they were talking about, I mean, it was just fucking nuts, some of it. And the way that, Jones gets so riled up and damn, about to blow his damn top. I mean, it's crazy. But it's also entertaining, to me too. And I think to shut him down, sets a really bad precedent, for other, conservative commentators or, shows. I mean, we're already getting hit on Twitter. Facebook, is, banning people left and right or suspending, 30-day suspensions or taking down posts. And even YouTube, with the demonetization of videos and shit. I mean, it's just fucking crazy, what's happening.
Yes, well, here's the problem too with everything that's going on is before the Obama presidency, I think we had pretty much eliminated almost all the racism. Of course, there's always going to be a group of people who...
At least we were heading in the right direction.
We were heading in the right direction. Like there'll be a group of people that feel that, I didn't get to play basketball because the black kids, whatever. And that's just ignorance, right? And there's always going to be ignorance. But now that people are being told they're racist for being white, and they're talking about toxic masculinity and white privilege, you've created, new racists that weren't before. But when everybody and everything's telling you you're bad for just existing, there's going to be hate. So when they're talking about Donald Trump is stoking racism, they don't realize their own ignorance and willingness to attack people for different point of views and shutting down speeches and not letting people have the open floor to talk about things that they disagree with. Like if you don't like Gavin McInnes or Ben Shapiro coming to your college, then you invite someone at a different hall. You give people the choice to choose where they want to go. And I'm okay with that. I don't care if they have one on the same day. But to sit there and shut down, the whole reason I joined the Proud Boys is I lived in Berkeley. The very first time they blocked the highway and they tore the city apart because they had a conservative speaker coming. I actually pushed through people that were holding hands together. I worked for the cable company and they were blocking the highway. I had a long day at work. I wanted to get home.
Right.
And that's when I started paying attention. And if our ideas were so invalid and we were so wrong, you wouldn't have to shut our speeches down. That's how I take it, being a Proud Boy, being banned off of Facebook, before election time. To me, I feel like we're winning because they're that worried about us and our impact that they have to take us off.
Right. Now, let me ask you something.
Yes, sir.
You're familiar with Candace Owens, right?
Yes, I am. Very familiar.
How do you feel about her Blexit movement and her, reaching out to, and, getting black conservatives to, start standing up, and seeing the Democrats, for what they really are, the party of racism?
Well, one thing I really love about Candace Owens is her big thing. I don't feel she pushes turning into a conservative as much as she pushes think for yourself.
Right.
A real person like Candace Owens, like Charlie Kirk and them, they don't try to tell you how to think. What they do is they lay out the information and they encourage you to make a decision based on your own opinion objectively. Don't do it by someone else's agenda. Don't do it by the color of your skin. And that's why I really respect Candace Owens. Because a person that has something to hide and needs to be deceitful will do what the Democratic Party's telling you. If you vote for Donald Trump, you want women to get raped or you want all minorities to do it. I prefer someone that goes, you know what? Here's the information. I feel I make a really good case, and I hope you acknowledge this information before you make a choice. So I think Candace Owens is like today's Rosa Parks. with the free thinking movement.
That's actually a really good point, and a really good observation. Um, I've liked her because she tells it like it is. Though I think it's extremely funny how people have come out and accused her of being a Nazi, which is just freaking ludicrous. Um, and actually, when they do that, I think it kind of not I don't want to use that word. I think it kind of softens, um, you know, the term Nazi and just how bad it is. I think it takes away from that.
Yeah.
If you start calling everybody a Nazi, then what about the real Nazis?
And I forgot who said it. No, it was Gavin McGinnis. He said, they spend so much time calling everyone a Nazi that if they ever came face to face with a true person of hate, like an actual Nazi, they would shit their pants. They would not know what to do. And you want to hear a funny story? So I drive for Lyft and Uber right now. I'm in between the serious jobs. And I had this black lady today, and I didn't bring up anything political. I never do. And she was just talking about how liberal Charlotte's going. And I said, you know what? I don't like to comment on stuff like this because people can leave ratings and comments on me. So I try to leave politics out of work. And this lady says, anyone at my level, as far as what she does for work and where she is financially, she goes, we're conservative because we understand what drives business.
Right.
And her exact words were, yes, socioeconomic problems exist. That's always going to. Everybody can't be rich. But she says she would wish that especially young black teenagers would stop talking about white privilege and using that excuse, because you spend your whole life with that monkey on your back because you psyched it up in your head. How hard is it going to be for you to move forward? So what if there's problems? This is America. Nothing's perfect. But there's avenues for you to improve your life and make the right decisions.
In the words of the crazy fucker Kanye West, slavery is a mentality.
Damn right.
And I grew up in the hoods of Hartford, Connecticut. I spent time in Oakland. One thing that's never talked about is I've experienced true racism. Because I was white, I was looked at as weak. And I had someone that asked to try on my shoes. And I took a step back. I put up my hands. I said, I guess we're going to be fighting then. And this dude was so shocked. He shook my hand and he said, listen, man, most white people would have just took the shoes off and been afraid to confrontation. He respected me, the fact that I was willing to stand up for myself. But just that mindset of, because I was white, I must be weak. I must be easy to take advantage of and rob. And they say racism can't happen to black people because they don't have power. Well, you have power when you have a knife pointed at me or a gun.
It's a political move.
And you're telling me you want my money.
One of the strongest weapons at the liberal disposal is they redefine terms. They're fucking with the language. So that's why they redefine all these things like racism, and they add power plus race, power plus prejudice equals racism. And it's a political move. That's all it is. And it's a dangerous political move.
And one thing I've always said, like when it comes to Black Lives Matters, right? I told you I grew up in the hood, right?
Yeah.
I've been on a front porch drinking a beer, and some dude pulls up in a car with 24-inch rims and goes up and sells a bag of dope to a single mother. He knows damn well those kids are running around without clothes. She looks like shit. She has no food in her cabinets, but he's willing to sell it to her and put her family further at risk. If the black community as a whole stopped bringing their own people down, if I'm at a grocery store and two guys are about to fight and a younger older man comes up and goes, listen, y'all are both black. You need to stick together. You need to be looking out for each other instead of taking advantage of each other. When they do that, I'll agree with Black Lives Matter, and I'll be the first one to stick up for something that's wrong. But when your lives don't matter to your own culture, I mean your own like race, why should I go out of my way like those demands? I can make money inherently because of my color, so I should donate my money to poor black families. Like, worry about yourself. Why is the smart black kid in the family made fun of and ostracized and told, you just want to be white? Why are they someone that's intelligent? Why are they putting him down?
Right.
You want to be better as a community? Don't make fun of that smart black kid. Tell him, listen, man, I'm sorry I was a jerk. I'm having some trouble with math. Do you think it helped me? You could help me? Because then it strengthens themselves.
Right.
Get back to the sense of community.
Yeah. Are you familiar with CJ? I believe his last name is Pearson.
No.
The young black kid from Atlanta that's been on Twitter and YouTube. I have to say he's about, now he's got to be like 14, between 14 and 16. Anyway,
Yeah.
Super educated young man, very smart, very intellectual. Big Trump supporter. Along with Candace, trying to, educate, his community.
Well, was he that kid that came to Washington and had no place to stay, so the president put him up in a hotel?
I don't know. I didn't hear that story. I mean, it's possible, I guess.
To me, the bravest person I could meet is a gentleman like that, a young black educated gentleman who probably where he comes from is tormented for not falling to the liberal media tricks and just jumping on the Hillary train.
Right.
It takes a brave man to stand up for what you believe in, even when everyone else doesn't believe in it. Like, have you seen the videos of the Muslim dude that was sitting on the bus and some lady was sitting down? So he was punching the plexiglass behind her next to her head, talking about there's no reason she should be sitting down if he has to stand up.
No, I haven't seen that one.
Yeah, it's on YouTube. It's easily available. And it's just, this is America. I have nothing against Muslims. You practice your religion. As long as when you're at work, you're professional, I can count on you. And you do your job to the best of your ability. Right. But if I ever see a Muslim man threatening a woman, putting his hands on a woman, or demeaning her and making her feel less because she is a woman, I will be the first person to stand up and knock that motherfucker out.
I'm seeing if I can't locate that video right now.
Muslim man on bus disrespects woman.
Oh, okay. Let me do
hooks and hoes.
On bus.
That's why I don't understand either. The feminist movement jumping on the Muslim train, talking about Islamophobia. If there's any group of men in the world that think women are second-class citizens and should be, the last to get anything, it's the Muslim culture as a whole. They have to ask permission to drive, and they have to have a male family member with them.
Well, I was looking on the news yesterday. Anyway, apparently, United Kingdom, I believe it was in Birmingham, the school system is teaching. Wanted to teach, I guess, LGBTQ history in the school system. Anyway, Birmingham has a pretty big Muslim community. Anyway, about 600 of them came out in protest. They don't want their children to be taught that in school. Now, if that right there doesn't show you how those two ideologies are clashing, even though they're both on the progressive side, it's ironic as hell because, what liberals don't realize is the reason why they're so aligned together right now, liberals and Muslims, is because they both hate the West and they want to bring the West down. They want to see the West fail. But what liberals fail to see is that if that were to happen and, the West was to collapse and they were to gain control, Muslims would turn on them in a minute and would start cutting off their heads and throwing them off of rooftops.
And because the media taught men to not be men and not stick up for yourself or others, to sit there and be a passive little pansy, they'd be an easy target.
Oh yeah, they wouldn't be able to defend themselves, or their families. And why they can't see that? I'm just like, how ignorant can you be?
That's another reason they attack the nuclear family structure, because you know what? When you got a man and a woman in a household, that little boy learns and sees a good man, right? And then you have the mother. If that little boy disrespects the mom, in the old days, my dad used to get home 12 o'clock at night from work and wake up me and my brothers and beat our ass for anything if we talked back to mom that day.
Right.
A little boy learns how to respect a woman. If not, dad kicks ass. And then a little girl sees a man, sees daddy doing his job, daddy fixing things around the house, daddy respecting mom. She won't settle. We won't need abortions. If these women saw a good father in the household, they won't settle for that loser fuckboy. They won't settle for a few nice words gets her pants off. A woman is sacred, and she needs to treat herself that way. She's a rare prize. She's not something that can be told, hey, let's Netflix and chill. And the next thing you know, she's pregnant.
Right.
It's just, I have a young son, and that's another big reason I joined the Proud Boys, because I don't want him growing up where a girl cannot like him in school and she could tell a teacher a lie and she's automatically believed, and now he's in trouble and getting expelled,
Right. No, I've got an 11-year-old son, and I worry about, that kind of thing all the time. We're constantly having discussions about that.
Yeah. Every person in this world has a right to defend themselves and be innocent until proven guilty. And have you ever seen that show Orville by the Seth MacFarlane?
Yeah, I've seen the Orville.
Have you seen the episode they went on a planet to look for guys, the two guys that disappeared, and everybody had a like and dislike sign, like the thumbs up and down, and planted in their chest. If you did something, someone could press the dislike button, and if you got enough dislikes, they would actually put you on trial on camera in front of everybody. And if you got like 2 million dislikes, they would tap your brain like they used to do back in the old day to deal with mental illness. They would tap your brain and turn you comatose.
Right.
He was kind of making fun of the world we live in today, where it's all about court of public opinion. It don't matter about the facts. If they can get enough out in the news beforehand, then you're guilty by public opinion.
Well, it's kind of ironic that you say that. That exact same thing's playing out right now in China with their social credit score. As a matter of fact,
yeah.
One of their famous Chinese actresses just got banned from leaving the country because she had a low social credit score, and they were like, It's almost. Are you familiar with that show Black Mirror on Netflix? Have you seen that?
What's it called?
Black Mirror. It's kind of like Twilight
Is that
Zone
Black Mirror Bandersnatch?
Well, Bandersnatch is one of the movies that they did, but Black Mirror is actually the TV show. It's kind of like a cross between the Twilight Zone and Outer Limits. It's individual episodes, of different kinds of sci-fi like things. Anyway, one of the episodes they did was based on that social credit system. Everybody had their smartphones, and anytime you interacted with somebody, after the interaction, they'd either give you a like, or a dislike, and then it was all based on percentage. So the higher your percent was, the better people treated you, the more things you got to do. Whereas the lower your percent, you wouldn't get the nice homes or the good deal on the interest rates on cars. You wouldn't be able to travel, that kind of shit.
Well, you know what? You know what would solve a lot of problems right now in society as far as socioeconomic gaps is banks, reforming the banks. So you grew up in the ghetto. Your mom put the cable bill in your name when you were 7 and defaulted, right?
Right.
So you go to get a car, you pay a higher interest rate than someone that's rich and has money. So you're stuck in an inevitable loop where one vacation week and a paycheck and you can get your car repoed, or your alternator goes out and you're in a hole. We need to stop this punishing people that are poor, because if they change the interest rates to make it more manageable, how many more people would not be in a hole right now? How many more people would be able to keep their jobs and feed their family? Stop wiping your teeth. Look high as fuck. That's what I just told me. Everybody watching. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, I agree 100%. I think, first of all, I think we should do away with the Federal Reserve. And I'll even go a step further to say, we need to do away with federal tax. It should all just be state tax based.
Yeah.
State tax based, is what I think. The only time, I see my federal dollars at work is when I go see my buddy in Washington, D.C., and I don't have to pay to go into the Smithsonian.
Yeah. Well, that too. And do you know what the biggest problem in Charlotte is right now?
What's that?
So they're buying up a bunch of land and they're putting up all these nice houses, and they're basically raising the property value and driving people out. And Charlotte, I think what I saw in the news the other day, 125 homicides already this year. You're creating people that are super desperate and super poor. And that's where a lot of your crime comes from. They're kind of purposely raising the value to drive people out that can't afford to pay $1,500 for rent on a 2-bedroom,
Right.
It's just with all the people that are getting social help, right? Food stamps and stuff like that. Why aren't we having programs where they're making low-income housing? That's nice. But the people that are actually building it and working on it are people that are getting assistance. You're kind of teaching them a work ethic. You're teaching them a trade, and they're earning the help they get. So they're more likely to get off the system,
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's fine. I don't know, dude. I mean, I'm a child of the the 70s. I was born in 74. I grew up in the 80s. Things seem so much simpler and better than they do now, and I have a hard time, wrapping my head around it. And it all to me, started with, like you said earlier, all of this I believe has started with Obama, and it sucks because when Obama ran in 2000, I voted for him. I bought into the whole hope and change. I really thought, wow, this is great. This is amazing that we as a country, of Americans, we have voted the first, black president. It was amazing. It was a milestone. And,
yeah.
When he said that, he was going to unite the people and, he was going to make sure shit changed, I was like, yes. Because, I wasn't a big fan of Bush, mainly because, I didn't like his old man. I never agreed with the whole invasion of Iraq, back in the 90s. I mean, even though they never really outright came out and said it, I knew what it was about. We were there strictly for the oil. We didn't really give two shits about the Kuwaitis. I mean, if their main
and the poppy fields.
And the poppy fields. If their main export had been broccoli, we never would have went. And then, Clinton came, and I mean, I didn't much care for Clinton. I didn't like the whole thing we know with super predators and what he did with the, the crime bill. I think it really hurt a lot of people of color with, bullshit, charging, especially, with the whole fucking drug war that we all know was, created, by Nixon and the CIA to keep the poorer communities in check. And, in fucking jail. Um, God damn, this beer is good. And then, we get to, Bush, which, 9/11. I mean, I could go on that topic, forever.
Yeah.
But then Obama comes and I vote for him, but then he doesn't do any of the shit that he said he was going to do. Instead, all he does, he drives, a bigger divide, in the country. Number one, he shits all over our men in blue, our police force. He makes a bigger racial, wedge between, the white communities and black communities than ever, than there ever was. And, I just, really felt, fucking lied to and betrayed by, that son of a bitch. So when Trump came along, I was like, well, shit. I like the fact that he was, anti-political correctness, that, he said what was on his mind. He didn't apologize. I like the fact that he was on Twitter, that he could get his message out to everybody, without having to go through the damn news media. And I even thought it was ironic that, before he started running, everybody loved him. The damn Apprentice was like, one of the top rated shows. Fucking Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, the fucking NBC, ABC, CBS. I mean, they all loved him. The only one who couldn't stand him was, Rosie O'Donnell. And but, let's be honest, she's a fucking cunt anyway.
No, she's thunder cunt, man.
Thunder cunt. So.
Well, back to what you were talking about with Obama. I didn't mean to cut you off. I'm sorry. I just want to get this out before I forgot it.
Yeah.
Is Obama took a lot of kickbacks as far as this opioid crisis we're in right now. He was talking about, the Obamacare came in, right?
Right.
When he started pushing Obamacare and he did the government shutdown to get it through, simultaneously, the prices on the pain pills and on insulin and other very vital things went through the roof. And he got kickbacks, and I hope he goes to jail for this. This is something I got off of a QAnon page.
Right.
And I looked up the info. If it's incorrect info, it's incorrect. But from what I gathered, he took money, kickbacks, to allow that opium to be coming through basically unchecked, as much as they could pull in. Big Pharma was just pushing pain pills left and right. You had a sneeze, you know what? You need some Percocet. And when they raised the price and he put you on Obamacare, well, guess what? Obamacare guaranteed is going to cover it and pay for it. So instead of all the people not paying their hospital bills, now our taxes are paying for the medication that people are being given while the price is being risen up. And anybody on private pay insurance, they're going to have to pay out the nose to make up the loss. Now, how familiar are you with the healthcare system? Do you know how it works as far as the billing?
No, the only thing I know about the healthcare system is, every time I go to have something done, it costs me out the ass, even with fucking insurance. I mean, and the one thing that I've noticed that drives me fucking nuts is now this $50 specialty copay I have to pay, whereas I used to just have to pay $25 no matter who I saw. But now if I go to a specialist, I now got to pay $50 fucking dollars. As a matter of fact, today I had to go and have the blood pressure in my legs, feet, and toes checked.
Yeah.
And that was $275 that they're now
going
to bill me.
Did they do a static blood pressure on you, where they had you lay down and then sit up and then stand up?
No, they had me lay down and they used like a sonogram machine. Like it had like this little pin that they put on my pulse areas on my feet and legs and shit. The whole thing the whole procedure took about 45 minutes, but $275 just for fucking blood pressure.
All right, so I'll explain to you how it works.
Okay, I'd like
so
to hear
somebody comes in on state insurance, right, for being medically indigent, which means they can't afford their own health care, right?
Right.
So they get an X-ray because they think they broke a bone. That X-ray will say it costs $500. I'll send the billing and coding to the state to get paid, and they'll send back a check for 270 instead of 500. Be like, eat the loss. So you, Joe Schmo, who works a full-time job and pays for his health insurance, you go in for an x-ray, you're now getting charged 730 because they got to make up for that loss somewhere.
Right.
So your deductibles, until they're met, you're coming out of pocket, but they're basically making up their loss on the state-funded patients, on the people that pay their own health insurance.
That seems kind of
So
fucked up.
Yeah, that's why Obamacare comes in and it covers a whole bunch of people that didn't have it before. So then guess what happens to your rates, your deductibles, your co-pays? They go up. You just experienced it.
Yeah.
But it's all, to be honest, when the founding fathers started this wonderful democratic republic, when you served, it was your civic duty. You didn't get paid for it.
Right.
Once money got into place, human nature, just like with socialism, people are always going to find a way to line their own pockets.
Yeah, I mean, it's sad, too, because, I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, I like to think that I'm a compassionate individual. You know, I don't want, you know, people not to have health care. I don't want to see people, you know, dying in the streets, like Lania said, you know, for lack of antibiotics or a simple infection. I don't want to see that. You know, but
Yeah.
I mean, how do we fix it? You know, I mean, what's the right way to go about doing that to, you know, make sure that everybody's getting, you know, fair treatment?
Well, everything comes full circle, too. It's funny. You know, you're talking about people with diabetes. We have a whole marketing campaign of companies that condition people to drink their 4, you know, gallons of soda a day with those extra big cups. And then they come in and then they get sick. They get diabetes. Then they got to pay. And, you know, your taxes pay for the people that don't have their own health insurance. It's like everything comes full circle. Most of our health problems, the biggest health problem we have in the U.S. is obesity.
Oh, yeah.
And it's caused by marketing. Marketing causes it. You know, people think that they have to have that 3,000 calories with each meal. You know, it's, you know, you go to a restaurant, what are the portions on a plate?
Oh, no, I mean, you know, speaking from experience there, you know, I agree. You know, I'm overweight. I had my first heart attack in 2014. I've now got a pacemaker because of it. I know a lot of it stemmed from, you know, the fact that, you know, I do drink a lot of Mountain Dew. You know, it's one of the things that I'm now starting to cut back. Where you know, where I was drinking a Mountain Dew every hour.
Pop on Mountain Dew.
Yeah, man. I'll come at you like a goddamn spider monkey there, Chip.
I'll kick your ass, Grandpa. I'm hopping up a Mountain Dew. It's hard, man. I love soda.
Yeah, I mean, it is. And then, you know, of course, you know, I got beer. You know, I love my damn beer. You know.
Well, you notice how hard it is to drink 8 glasses of water a day? But you know how easy it is to drink 8 beers?
Oh, I can down 8 beers like it was nothing.
But it's crazy because now even you drink the tap water. You know, I smell that chlorine smell.
Yeah.
You know, and everything that's healthy for us and good for us has either been outlawed or made too expensive to afford on a regular basis.
Or
Like in California. In California, if you put, when I lived there, if you put buckets out to collect rainwater, Nestle owns the water rights to the water table. Like, they will come after you and they will sue you. You can't collect water to water your own garden.
Well, you can't even collect damn water here in North Carolina without being damn taxed for it.
Yep. And there was actually a news story about a family that was completely off the grid. You know, they had solar set up. They set up their own well and pump and everything. They got zero power from the actual city. And they got their house taken away, I think it was, because they refused to be hooked up to the power grid. Like, aren't people supposed to be independent? Why are they trying to take that from us?
It's on purpose.
Well, because if they know if they do that, then they can't get their fucking money.
I'm making an example.
Yeah, you know what? If shit were to hit the fan right now, and truckers stopped moving, and power workers stopped working, there's not that many people that would survive. You know, as far as getting power, charging their iPhones and shit like that.
Right.
It would be a crazy world.
Well, I mean, hell, if just the damn GPS satellites were to fail, and nobody know how to get to where they were going.
Yeah.
Because they can't read a fucking map.
Yeah, not only can they not read a map, it's like when they drive, they don't pay attention. They're so busy on their phone, I think that's the biggest problem. So much to do with electrical interaction. Like, if people didn't have their phone, how crazy would they go if we woke up one day and the cell tower stopped working?
Oh, they'd fucking shit.
What's the topic? First Amendment? Freedom of speech.
Yeah. Yeah, we kind of got a little off topic, but I mean, this is great. I like it when it goes rogue.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun just talking about things that you feel and think about on a daily basis.
Well, in my opinion, all of this falls under damn, freedom of speech and the First Amendment, because if we didn't have these rights, we couldn't have these type of conversations.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Well, about the place that we're about to go play pool at, like, I can't even walk in and talk to you about that stuff because I'd probably get jumped because I disagree with them, which comes back to freedom of speech.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I mean, like I said, like we said earlier, there's not many places that you can go, I mean, where you can't wear your Make America, Great Again hat without getting shit. Or your damn, what is it, Fred Laurel, shirt without getting, shit, or
Fred Perry.
Yeah, Fred Perry.
Fred Laurel.
Well, when I grew up, it was just before the whole social media era. If you were talking shit about someone, you'd get punched in the mouth.
Right.
So there wasn't as much of this going on. With the whole social media era, I think that's the biggest reason for safe spaces and stuff like that. You got keyboard warriors safely on the other side of their desk saying stuff, and they're not being held accountable for running their mouth.
So what does that have to do with safe space?
Well, because what it is because people don't get punched in the mouth for what they say, people have become so soft that they cry. Like, some people's words are like a punch in the face to the weak people.
Right.
Since you're not being held accountable for it, like some of these liberals, what they say, calling Nazi and racist and bigotry, if they did that 20 years ago, they'd get punched right back in the mouth, and they would think before they make false accusations like that again. But now we can't do that. And I'll tell you this, the left has won as far as what they do with social media, going after people's jobs, doxing and stuff like that, or someone don't like your post, they can report it and they take it down. You can't dispute it. Right. The left has technology mastered.
Well, yeah, but a lot of that stems from the fact that most of the people on the left, as far as technology goes, are the ones that created the technology. So it's easier for them to master, whereas unfortunately, with a lot of conservatives, we've got a lot of older conservatives, that, don't know how to use the technology, don't want to learn the technology, are scared of the technology.
Yeah. Well, that and social media with the public opinion thing we were talking about, like the Covington kids.
Right.
Before any truth was found out, 60 million people knew about it. And the actual, real old school conservatives, they didn't know anything about it till it was said and done. So people's opinions were already made about the situation before, half of the conservative population even knew what was going on.
Right.
The older generation. Talk about free speech. I think the best thing the president can do is put some form of punishment in place for those that make false accusations like that. It gets in the newspaper. If someone makes a fake article about
No. The government can't step in any way like
I talk
that.
about purposely making false stories like that.
The individuals have to go after them for libel. Like, then that's what they're doing right now. The Covenant kids are suing like the Washington Post and a lot of the big talking heads that were calling for doxing them. That's what's happening right now, because they ran with this story. They ran with a false narrative, and now the individual, fuck the government getting involved. The individual has to go after these people.
I agree with that, but I believe there should be a law in place. Not
You
just
can't. How do you do that? How do you regulate free speech?
Hold on.
Right,
Let
without
me-
infringing somebody's rights.
I'm not talking about regulating free speech. I'm saying the media has a responsibility to post the facts. And if they purposely post something, if they did not do their due diligence and did the research.
Okay, but who's judging that? Who's the person behind that decides that if they're actually living up to the truth or not? So what do we just put together a council somewhere,
No.
a governmental council?
Well, why can't you do it like court? Like you go and sit in front of a judge.
I don't like putting that kind of power into the hands of any governmental official.
Yeah,
Fuck that.
agree with that.
People themselves have to go after them for
Then
libel
why don't
and
we
for
make
slander.
our own kangaroo court then? But they need to be
What
held
we do is
accountable.
call the People's
I mean,
Court.
that's Washington's
No.
getting sued for $250 million
I
right
understand
now.
that, but you're not letting me finish speaking because one person decided to sue. I'm saying if there's a law in the books on place, they would be more apt to do the due diligence and be more careful. I'm not trying to say
But
limit.
that's governmental regulation of journalism of free.
Well,
I
why-
don't think that's a good idea, man. Because I mean, I know it's the slippery slope fallacy, but once you implement something like that, man, it doesn't stop there, man. Eventually, that's going to be corrupted, just like any other governmental institution. Man.
I understand what you're saying, but you have no problem if I go and rob someone right now. You're okay with the judge presiding over my case, right? You don't think there should be a group of peers to do that? No judge, nothing else, right? I'm saying, like, if a business purposely lies and fudges their numbers on the books for tax purposes, tax reasons or whatever, there's a penalty for that, right? It's a
Yes.
law. You're held accountable if you purposely falsify
but
numbers.
Taxes and speech are two totally different
Okay,
things, man.
I understand that, but if you like that Covington kid story, if they were to be fined or penalized or threatened to shut down, they have a duty to report the facts. I'm not saying that they mistake one fact, but if you completely take a story like the Covington kids, when there's that much evidence and you create a false story out of it to further push agenda, there should be something against that.
Well, I mean, that's
Okay,
it's not going to happen because, I mean, propaganda was legalized in 2011 under the Obama administration anyway. So, I mean, they can push any narrative they choose to push. And this goes for both sides, man.
Yeah.
Like, you can, I mean, I'm just saying it's a dangerous road to go down when you start putting the power into governmental agencies' hands to decide what's true and what are the facts. And it doesn't end there, man. It never ends there. It
Okay.
keeps going.
I agree. I agree. Okay, maybe not give the government the control. We need to put something in. I think there needs to be some accountability, and that they should have to pay serious fines.
It starts with people being. It starts with the people. It starts with them being aware, being educated, being knowledgeable of what's going on. Like you can't if one say HuffPost is pushing a false narrative. It takes the individual. It takes the citizen to be knowledgeable of what's going on, to do their own research, to decide if what they're pushing, the narrative they're pushing, is bullshit. That's where it starts. It all starts with the people. The enemy of the government is an educated people, man. But that's the problem. The masses are ignorant right now. But that, I mean, I don't think any idea of regulating journalism is a good idea.
I'm not talking about
and holding them
regulating.
accountable. I think holding them accountable starts with the individual. Like the Covenant, you brought up the Covenant case. The Covenant case, they're going after these media companies that push the false narrative. And it starts with them. It starts with the individual, the citizen, going after and standing up for themselves and saying, "Look, you're slandering me, you're libeling me, and now there's a price to pay." That's how you fix it. You start fixing it when all the citizens and all the people being hurt by this stand up for themselves and go after them and go for blood. That's where it starts, and we're starting to see that now.
So basically what you're saying is that we should start pushing people to stand up for themselves and follow, like, use the libel laws, use the slander laws and stuff like that. So instead of having a government agency do it, we should start teaching people that you have avenues that you can go through if your name's being libeled and slandered.
Yes.
I'll be right back. I'm going to take a quick leak. You guys keep going.
But no, I don't like the idea of government. I agree with you that putting them in charge. I just want some type of structure, something in place. Make it like they have the whistleblower laws. You know, they should have some type of thing like that where people can, an accountability reporting. If they talk about, like, okay, us as Proud Boys, they come out and say that the news article they put out saying we're a hate group. We should be able to stand up and go and take it.
Well, Gavin right now has a lawsuit against the SPLC. I mean, he's going after him. Yeah, I mean, that's where it starts. We're starting to see people start. We're starting to see it now. People are starting to stand up for themselves and not just taking this laying down. Sam Harris went after the SPLC for calling him an alt-right figurehead, and all, you know. So that's where it starts. That's how we fix this. We don't turn to any governmental agency to do this.
Yeah, you know what? I agree with Cal. I think he's 100% right. So the left, one thing they have working for them is they're backed by people with deep pockets that want to push an agenda. So the more that we stand, technocrats. So if we stand together as a people, like the conservative people stick together and we start making them pay with lawsuits for the libel and slander, if you drain their bank account, they have less money to fund for stuff. Less money to throw around to further their agenda.
I don't know. I mean, the pendulum's definitely starting to swing in our direction, man. I think we're on the right path, but I'll be honest with you. I don't see us saving this society. I think we're in our death throes. Personally, I think we're in the death throes. We're in the downward spiral of America, of Western culture. Even the right, like, I see a lot of problems on the right. There isn't a moral backbone to a lot of it, and that's, you know, sure, the tenets are there. So a lot of the important tenets are there, but it's just like capitalism, man. Capitalism only works with a moral backbone. It's the only way it works. Without a moral backbone, it falls apart and it becomes slavery, or becomes serfdom, or whatever term you want to use. Yeah. You know, it's the same thing. So I don't think there's any saving this. I think we have the ability to put Band-Aids on it. We have the ability to prolong it, but I don't know if we're going to turn it around like we think. I mean, I'm all for holding on to hope, but I mean, I'm black-pilled, so, you know, it is what it is.
I think definitely, like, the people like us, how we have a group of men, we all have different professions and stuff like that. We all are very skilled and we're survivors. I think we need to get ready for a point in society where we have to band together and we're the only ones that are going to make sure we're taken care of, because in the future, we're not going to be able to go to the store and grab a carton of milk and a dozen eggs.
We're all going to run up to Fednick's cabin and fucking, you know, start Obi Land. That's what we're going to do.
Right? Are you going to join us if we start our own country?
Oh, dude.
We're going to start plotting.
It's, you know, an independent man.
Collecting scalps.
An independent man is one the government can't control. So I think
an educated man is the one the government can't control.
I think that's one of the biggest reasons they attack the Boy Scouts, because the Boy Scouts starts out with teaching you basic survival skills and ways to feed and take care of yourself. And they had to make it inclusive, you know, and now they got in college, you got females that are suing a male fraternity for having all males.
Well,
you know,
I
it's
think,
like,
you know, as far as the Girl Scouts go, it's a little more than that, because I think a lot of the girls, you know, are wanting to join because in the Girl Scouts, they don't really teach the same skills that they do in the Boy Scouts as far as, like, you know, survival or hunting and shit like that. You know, because I was talking to a girl the other day about it, and she said she liked the idea because when she was a Girl Scout, all they did was teach them about, you know, fucking sewing and baking, and she wanted to learn how to, you know, camp and be out in the woods and shit, and, you know, all the cool stuff that, you know, the other boys were doing, which, you know, which I can kind of see that to a point.
Yeah.
The only thing I worry about is, you know, is I hope it doesn't diminish, you know, the rank of Eagle Scout. You know.
Mm. So then why can't they just do a Girl Scouts where they bring in people to
Because
teach
there's an
them stuff
attack
like
on
that?
masculinity.
Yeah, I agree.
That's all it is.
There is an attack on masculinity. I agree 100%.
Now there's all-girl Boy Scout troops. Tell me how that makes sense.
Yeah, like, did you hear about that? They got an all-girl Boy Scout troop now. Boys are not allowed.
No, I had not heard that yet.
Yep. They had a troop set up, and it's led by two girls that kind of look like bull dykes, which, hey, if that's your sort of thing, that's fine. But they're purposely making a point that no boys are allowed. What was the whole point of inclusivity and making sure?
It was never about inclusivity.
Yeah.
It was never about that. It was all about tearing down what the idea of the patriarchy, which is bullshit, which never really existed in the first place. At least, I mean, anybody that wants to look at the past and say that we lived in a patriarchy is not taking. That's such a bullshit way of looking at history, of painting history, of whitewashing history. I mean, it takes two. Women were just as. I mean, women might not have had voting, which, to be honest with you, is probably a better thing. But fuck the 19th. Repeal the 19th. But I think that, you know, the idea of patriarchy, looking at that and saying that men just controlled every single thing and that women didn't do anything to further society, that's a very it's not true. It's blatantly untrue. It's not how it actually worked. I mean, females, they held together the homestead. I mean, the family is the building block of society, especially Western society. And that's what the patriarchy, that's what feminism, that's what all of this is. It's an attack on the building blocks of foundation. It's literally its goal is to tear down the family unit, the nuclear family, if you will. I don't know where I'm going with that, but yeah, it's just, that's where this all boils down to, into that philosophy. It's modern feminism. It's an attack, the patriarchy, all of it. It's tearing down the family, the building blocks of a strong society. That's where it all goes. You can almost everything they do is against that. That institution.
It goes against the natural order of things, in my opinion. I mean, you know, men. We're designed and built for a reason, just like, you know, women are designed and built for a reason. You know, we're supposed to be the caregivers, I mean, the protectors and the hunters, and women are supposed to be the caregivers and the nurturers, you know, and that's the way it's supposed to be. You know, it's how it works in the damn animal kingdom. You know, it's how it works, you know, in the human kingdom. And why people can't accept that and just go with it is beyond me.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with seeing problems in the way, you know, things are working and trying to fix that. But the problem is they're not taking reality into account. I mean, they don't look at, they see that, well, they don't like the fact that, you know, men are the hunter gatherers, and they don't like the way these things work. So they try to alter reality. They try to alter the way things actually work instead of bettering the way things actually work.
Right.
You know what I mean? You can improve on the natural order of things. You can improve on how we act and behave and how society works around the natural order. But you can't change the natural order. You can't do it.
Well, it's not only that, too, is we're all individuals and different things work for different people, right? So that they talk about feminism and women in the workplace. And you know what? That's fine. If you have a family where the woman has a good education, has a good job, and the man makes less and stays home, more power to him. But I think the danger herein lies that if a feminist sees a family where, like, the men's obviously the head of household and they want to make comments and attack that, what works for one doesn't always work for the other. Stop focusing. They make problems for people that talk about race and color so much. They make every situation so black and white. But there's a million different shades of gray in between where it's like, oh, honey, you're letting the man work and do that. You're a weak woman. You need to stand and do that. Well, what if it works for her family? Mind your own fucking business.
Oh, side note, you know how Google just did that study and found that men are actually making less at their company?
Right.
Kind of funny. When they actually, hey, how are you? When they actually came out with that information, they found that men were actually the one being discriminated against, or underpaid, if you will. They said, yes, men are being underpaid, but there's a lot of factors that we're not taking into consideration when looking at this. And it's the exact same fucking thing that we've been saying the whole time when they were talking about the women's gender pay gap. We were saying, look, yeah, maybe if you put it like across the board, there's 97 or 77 cents on the dollar, or whatever, but you're not taking into account free choice or choice, what occupations they're going into, what women actually choose to do, like how women go after more balance between family life and career.
Right.
Like there was a lot of different factors that went into that. And now they're using the same argument, the same thing that we were saying, like, hey, look, there's a lot more than this, than just a blanket line between or comparison between the two. You got to take all these other factors into comparison and now, or into consideration. And now they're using our argument when it turns out that men are being the ones that are underpaid.
Right.
Well,
it's just funny how that works to me.
Not to mention that the gender studies classes fill up as soon as they open, and none of the women are walking over to the astrophysics or the electrical engineering. And the same women that fought to get that spot in the gender studies class are talking about the discrepancy of females in that area work field. Be that change you want to see. Don't study how there's problems. Learn and do all those things that you're being told that you can't do just because you're choosing not to. It's the fallacy, and it's ridiculous.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that's hurt this country is the fact that, it used to be you could have, whether it be the man or the woman, you had a single income family, where one parent worked, the other one stayed at home to take care of the kids. Now that inflation and everything has risen to the point where both parents have to work, and now you've got children that are being raised by strangers, in fucking daycares.
Hey, can you grab me something too?
Or by, other, family members that, aren't necessarily the best influence. I think that's, helped contribute to a lot of this shit as well.
Okay. Yeah, dude, it's all the problems that we're having I feel a lot of them can be solved by coming together and not dividing.
Oh, yeah.
But it scares the people at top. A population that works together can overthrow the government. And that's why there's so much money in race racketeering, and there's so much focus on dividing us. Again, I bring up the place I'm about to play pool at. I'm a lot different than the people in here. So it's a round robin type thing. Winner keeps the table, loser walks away, you get into a rotation. Well, I went outside to smoke a cigarette, and I come back in, and these two black guys were playing on the pool table. So I walked up, I'm like, hey, man, I call winner. They go, no, we're not doing that. We're going to play a couple games. You've been playing for a while. Well, I won, so I got to keep the table. And the rules are clearly written on the wall that you just call next. It's not any one person keeping the table. Winner stays on, loser leaves.
Right.
And they got pissed and threw a fit and just gave up the table. And I tried to go up to him. I was like, listen, no, man, you can play, you just play winner. And they wanted nothing to do with me. They didn't want anything to do with that. And here it is, someone that's been called a racist and a bigot and a homophobe and a Nazi that, I just wanted to play pool. I was polite, wanted to interact, Right. I'm in the middle of Antifa land right now, and I'm being polite and respectful to everyone. I ain't trying to cause no problems, but they wanted things their way. They wanted to break the rules of the bar so they could just stay on the table. If it was the opposite way around and I did that, what would I be called? How much flack would I get?
Oh, you get a ton of shit, I guarantee you.
It's just individual respect. When I was given an Uber ride and some dude, I said I got pulled over by the cops, because I was in a bad neighborhood, and they wanted to search the car, and he goes, yeah, you're just lucky you're white, because if you weren't white, they would have planted drugs in your car. He's like, how's that white privilege for you? And I was thinking, you're saying that I judge people, or, like I have white privilege, but here you are throwing it back in my face, judging me by the color of my skin. Where's the hypocrisy in that?
Oh, it's riddled with it.
Yeah. So did you have any questions specifically? I'm sorry, I'm just rambling on.
No, man. This has actually been a good show tonight, with the exception for the hiccup at the beginning. I wish that could have been avoided, but it's definitely made up for it in the second half.
Yeah, dude, do it. I would like to be on more, man. You get some good questions and stuff like that. I would definitely like this. Is pretty awesome. I like this open platform.
Well,
I think we should
eventually,
try
my goal is, once I get my basement cleared out, is I want to have a proper roundtable set up, where we're filming live and we've got, 4 or 5 individuals in the same room, streaming live together and, having these types of discussions. More importantly, though,
where do you live at, though?
I live in Trinity, which is right in between High Point and Greensboro.
I think a good idea for a show is if we can get someone on that doesn't agree with us but would be willing to sit down and talk with us.
Oh yeah, definitely. I mean, I would totally be down for that. On the same token, I think, as libertarians, independents, conservatives, I think if we're gonna fight and battle these left wing progressives and SJWs and Antifas and whatnot, I think it's imperative and important that people start making their voices heard, and that we get on Twitter, we get on Facebook, we get on YouTube, we make videos, we express our opinions, we get them out there, and when we get shut down, we start up another account and we go at it again,
Yeah.
And I think, the more we fight and the more we get our message, out there, the more it's going to get heard, and the more we're going to, convince people, to come to this way of thinking. Because, I said this a couple of weeks ago, all any of us really want to do is be able to take care of our families, our children, and provide. Occasionally maybe, take a 2-week vacation to the beach, know that we've got food in the refrigerator, not have to worry. That's all we want, is just, a simple, basic life. And that's not just, here in America, but I think the same thing can be said for, everybody all over the world. It's these governments and these politicians, with their own agendas, just like you said, a short while ago, how they want to keep us divided because they know united will overthrow their asses. They don't have a shot.
Yeah, exactly.
They want to keep us at loggerheads and fighting and biting against each other.
Yeah.
But if we can change that, then I think we can really, move ahead. And right now, we've got people, on the left that are looking. It's like we got a fence in between us, and they're looking over the fence and they're going, "Damn, there's something to, to this, to what these guys are thinking. Maybe they're right, and they want to jump that fence, and they want to come over to our side, but they're scared, because they've got all these dumbasses, behind them, with their fucking, lattes and fucking mochachinos and fucking, artesian fucking ice creams and, weird fucking clothes and shitty fucking music, trying to keep them back."
Well, that too, and don't forget to mention that, like, if you're at work or you're in a setting that has to do with work and you speak your opinion, and when you're a conservative, people will come after your job.
Oh, yeah. And that's what's the scariest thing of all, is that the people on the right who have lost their jobs and their careers and their ability to support their families, all because of their, a political ideology or belief that they might hold. I mean,
or they're afraid to stand what they to believe in.
Right. Look what happened. But yeah, look what happened to the damn, the New York 9.
Yeah.
I mean, look at all.
And what really bugs me about what bugs me about the New York 9 the most is when one of their buddies went down, they all left him there and no one went to help. And the Proud Boy, he, one of the ones that beat him up, was like, "Hey man, do you need help, or all right? Do you want me to call an ambulance? Because I know all my buddies that I got that are PBs, if there was ever a fight, I don't believe for a second any of them would leave me there on the ground." You know, that camaraderie and that loyalty that we have to people that with our ideology and think like we do is unrivaled.
Oh yeah.
I know any one of the guys in my Charlotte chapter, you know, I would be there to help them in a heartbeat. I don't care if I took a beating, you know, and that the Antifa, it's like everybody's a sacrifice. You know, the second someone goes down, they just left them there.
That's because
And
they're pussies.
they outnumbered the Proud Boys.
No, that's because they're pussies. You know.
Yeah.
But not only is it the camaraderie, you know, among the Proud Boys, that's good. But nobody ever talks about what they do for the community. I mean, anytime there's a disaster, you know, hurricane relief or whatever, you know, guys are banding together, you know, and helping their locals communities, and you know, their fellow man, you know, and it doesn't matter what, you know, race, gender, sexuality, you know, they're out there and they're doing what needs to be done just to help fucking people, and nobody says shit about that.
Well, you want to hear something funny, buddy? We were working with the Habitat for Humanity, and it was just 3 of us Proud Boys, right? And we were laughing and joking with each other. Like one of them, Dongo, he's not really a builder, but he had an apron on holding all the nails, and he tried to make a suggestion, and I'm like, he who wears the apron makes the sandwich, and shut the hell up. And we were joking, and there was 10 like older black people there, men and women, and they were like, y'all are friends? And we're like, yeah. And they're like, it doesn't sound like it. I was like, if your friend can't call you a cocksucker, then what are you doing with your life?
Right.
You know, if your friend makes fun of you and jokes with you, when someone outside your group does it, it's not going to hurt you. Those words hold no power because your friend does it.
Right.
So then they were still real skittish with us. Well, we framed out the wall, and they had 10 of them. They were all nailing in the plywood to the sectional wall we framed out. And I ran up and I was like, stop, stop, stop. And I did the hammer time. I said, hammer time, and did the dance. And they all started laughing, and they opened up and they were talking with us. And one of the ladies, like, I seen some stuff on the news, and they said you guys were this, and they said you guys were that. And I said, I want to ask you one thing. I was like, with all the rallies that the left does and everything, how do they leave the town, right? They leave it a mess, crap everywhere, garbage everywhere.
Shit on the
I was like,
streets.
yeah, look at what we're doing. We're out here building a house. You know, we're helping build a house for a family. You know, I challenge the left to leave a place better than it was when they got there. Any way they can.
No, they can't do
Just
it.
do something for your community. Do something to give back. You know, and that's what it's all about. If we all come together, help each other out, life would get better.
When's y'all's next meetup?
I believe next weekend will be out in Fayetteville.
Okay, cool. I'll definitely have to try to make that one.
It's a really cool place. I won't talk about it online, but yeah, definitely send me a message. The guy that hosts it's a really cool dude, man. We have a good time, and there's a couch for you to sleep on. Just don't pass out with your shoes on.
Oh no.
I made that mistake. There's some funny drawings and pictures. And I know you're listening, Dallas, so thank you, buddy.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, I know what? It's a great group of guys. You know, everybody's accepting. We all have got our little quirks. None of us are perfect, but we're a great group together. Together, we're strong.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know. And we just got to keep making the fight, man, and making sure that, you know, our opinion and voices get heard, and, you know, and not surrender to the you know, those trying to stifle free speech and censorship. You know, we just got to keep moving forward no matter what the cost.
Yeah, and they're not just doing it by shutting down free speech. They're doing it by making, like we were talking about, people that are afraid to speak up and speak their opinion because of the repercussions of what they can do.
You know. So I encourage everybody watching tonight's podcast, you know, get out there, make your voices heard, and don't let the left-wing social justice warriors, progressives, you know, make you feel like you can't say what you need to say. Hold your ground, keep moving forward, and we'll get to the finish line eventually.
Yeah, exactly. All right, man. Well, we're going to go in here and play some pool. It was a pleasure. I'll message you, man. I definitely like to be on again. You ready to go play some pool?
Yeah, man, definitely. You guys have a good night. Be safe, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. And to all y'all watching, sorry about the rambling and off topic, but it happens sometimes.
Sometimes those are the best shows.
All right, man. You have a wonderful evening.
All right, you too, buddy. Be good.
Thank you.
Later. All right. Hope you guys enjoyed that. Sorry we got a little bit off of topic, but I think it was an enjoyable show nonetheless. Again, I apologize for the technical difficulties that occurred earlier. I'm not sure exactly what happened. I'm going to have to check that out tomorrow. Anyway, we'll go ahead and call it a night for the Sloppy Bro Show. I'm going to take me a quick break. I'll probably jump back on and just do the Facebook version where I just, talk shit or whatever. So if you guys want to pop back in on that when I get back on, feel free. Other than that, I did break 100 subscribers today on YouTube, which was awesome. I finally got a proper channel name now, so it's no longer, numbers and letters and shit. It's actually youtube.com/the Sloppy Bro Show. So that'll make it easier for you guys to find the show and to, share it among friends. If you haven't already, though, feel free to hit that like button and subscribe button. Don't forget that notification bell. That way, every time I go live or anytime I upload a video, you'll be the first to know. Anyway, Barber, thanks for joining, as well as the rest of you. And I stream live every Friday night. I was doing it at 8:30. I'm thinking 9 o'clock is going to be a little better. So I'll probably switch it to then. But just remember, we're all trying to keep America great. And I will catch you guys on the flip side. Cheers.